Welcome guys, my name is Sammy and I'm the host of the Property Plug, and this is a podcast for property professionals and other professionals in Birmingham. And today I've got a friend of mine, we go back a long way and there's loads of connections we're going to discuss. Essentially this is Darshan Sekon, and I'm going to let you do the rest of it, so why don't you quickly or longly tell everyone what you do, a quick snapshot into your life and what your career is.
Thank you kindly for inviting me here today, Sammy. Yes, we do go back a long way and we've got a lot of history. So I lived in Harborne and wanted to open an office on the High Street. So we've been on the High Street since 2005. This is my 34th year in the business. And yes, I joined Allied Dunbar tail end in 1989. We got taken over by Zurich Financial Services, then we were called Zurich Advice Network, and in 2005, 700 partners like me, we became founder partners of the Open Work Partnership, so, and that's where we are today, and we actually based on the High Street, as you know.
Yeah. And what sort of services do you obviously offer at your company? And obviously we know your company is called Affinity Financial Planning. So name some of the services you can provide for your customers?
So we have Affinity by its name. It was a name chosen by me to create an affinity. So we actually look at pensions and investments for clients, look at the most tax efficient routes that they can actually choose to reach their objectives. We also cover clients for protection in terms of life and critical illness cover, and the ancillary services, we have referral companies that we introduce to. For example, we'll introduce wills to the co-op. So but we have my main journey, main purpose, right, is to actually help clients on their journeys to actually to create some wealth.
Okay. Are you offering any services such as mortgages and commercial mortgages? Do you touch on that with your clients?
So once again, I used to do mortgages and I stopped doing mortgages around 2010 because the wealth part of the work, talking to people about their pensions and investments became more and more so. And so, but we do have referral service to the Open Work Partnership Service, which is all about mortgages and helps people like me. Yep. And my clients to actually arrange their mortgages. Commercial finance, again, we have people locally within the network who will actually refer this kind of business to. So there's always somebody I will know that can help.
We get that. I get that as well. With networking, we're both networkers. We spend a lot of time trying to build our personal brand publicly, and obviously what you said there, you've got your referral partners. Again, we have our referral partners. We're trying to build the best network we can, so when a customer comes to us, we can offer them pretty much a full suite of services to cover
absolutely
start to finish.
And I think that's just the kind of people I think we are. I'll never turn anybody away, whether they've got £50 to spend a month or £500 a month. It's always good to help. So I always believe, if you help others, that the whole thing about this business is people always come back. Yeah. So most of our business is done on personal recommendation. Recommendations
up there as well for us.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like if customers like what you do for them, they will recommend their friends and family, and it's one of the best feelings for me personally. If I've done a great job and I've been recommended, when I get that text on my phone, my heart just explodes with happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the groundwork that we've both done over the years, where we've established a good name for our businesses and ourselves, and absolutely gives me a buzz as well when somebody actually says, oh, so-and-so has actually recommended you, can you have a look at my pension, or can I come and see you? And we have a first meeting, an exploratory meeting. We actually look at what clients want to achieve, and we don't. It's our investment. It's not the client doesn't pay anything, or future client doesn't pay anything. Cup of coffee and a few biscuits, and we'll just chat along the way, and you can see the biscuits.
How many coffees a day are you having?
I was having 6 coffees. That's now down to 4, and so I'm trying to cut down coffee to about 2 cups a day.
Really?
So yes.
You could always try decaf.
We could do, but you know we both go to the gym very early, and you need to be awake when you're at the gym. So
Do you know what I drink now in the morning? I don't touch coffee till about 11. I drink electrolytes, and electrolytes keeps my whole body like energized, like hydrated and alert. And I feel like I'm better at the gym if I have electrolytes. I don't know if you've tried that yet, but it works wonders for me.
no, I haven't tried that, but I surely will, because anything to sort of help the old creaks here and there. So yeah, absolutely.
It's anything to help anyone really. So essentially, you offer financial advice to your clients.
Yes, it could be very simple, and it could be quite complex. People or clients who have large estates look at how they can avoid, or their estate can avoid, inheritance tax, and that's important for them because they want to leave a legacy for their children or their children's children. So some of the planning that we do is actually all about what they actually want to do and how we can assist them really. So it's inheritance tax, whether it's we get clients coming in and say, do you do funeral expenses? And we do. So we'll try and accommodate virtually every client we have. There's sometimes that we can't help a client, and that's only because we've done our due diligence and they're better to stay where they are. And I explain all that to them, the background of why the advice was given in that way. So we the open work partnership, the compliance is very strict, and as it should be, because we want to make sure the client gets the right advice and the right investments.
Yeah, well, money is one of the most important things for people's future. So if you mess around with that, if you get that wrong,
absolutely.
And obviously the open work covers all of the FCA regulation for you guys. Is that
absolutely,
correct?
yes, absolutely. Because compliance is got to be number one. Looking after your client, and looking after clients who may be vulnerable. Detecting that fact, and also taking your time in helping those clients. So I always say to a client, if you don't understand anything, you can ask me again and again and again. And so we want to make sure the client knows what they're actually investing into, or the advice that we're getting. I always say to my staff, my colleagues, that look, if a client raises objections or asks questions, it just means that they're just a little bit more interested, and that's better for us.
Mm-hmm. I find, in my experience, a lot of the younger generation, they're unsure about pensions. They don't know where the money goes. Can they withdraw the money when they're 50, or they've got to wait till they're 70? There's so many questions they have. What advice would you give someone who's in their mid-20s who hasn't started a pension? What would you say to them?
So we had I can explain this example to you. We had a client in yesterday, 21 years old, wants to be an entrepreneur, and wants to go into property as well. So I simply just draw some diagrams for them in terms of explain what is they want to achieve, then work backwards. And if you work backwards, even at 21, you should be putting away 10% of your income anyway. So the tax efficiency, the HMRC for a basic rate taxpayer will give you 20% tax relief on your investments. So for example, if a client decides to invest £100 a month, they're actually investing £80, and the other £20 is coming from HMRC.
Because you're not paying the tax on the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're getting the tax relief on the £100.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he wants to. For example, this particular client wanted to go into property. So what youngsters don't see, and I'm saying youngsters, people of your age and younger. So what they're actually not seeing, they're seeing a pension, something that they may never take advantage of. But once you start explaining to clients, young people, look, you can actually buy other assets like property through your pension scheme, in terms of a self-invested personal pension plan, then it gets a little bit more exciting. Then anybody who's investing money, they need a purpose, and for that purpose fulfills what they want to achieve, they'll do it.
Okay, so you touched on the self-invested pension plan there, which we're going to call SIP. I'm familiar with SIP, so I have some questions which some of my viewers may not understand. So if you've got a pension pot, it's say £200,000, and you want to buy a commercial unit of £500,000, what can you do?
So on £200,000 pension fund, the trustees will allow you to raise another 50% of the scheme assets. So let's say there's £200,000 in someone's pension fund, and they've got some more sort of £10,000 for other purposes in their pension fund. They can actually raise another 50%, another £100,000. So they can actually buy something for £300,000. £500,000 would probably be just outside of.
What could you do with that 200k gap? Could you bridge it? Could you get a mortgage on it?
So if somebody's running their own business, for example, the business could borrow the other amount. You could actually have a joint SIP with your actual business. So the rental, when it comes back from the asset, gets split in the same way. So you can do that.
Okay, but if you wanted to keep it just without another bit, if you didn't own a business, for example, if you had the 200k pot and you got 50% from the SIP, you could essentially buy a commercial property up to 300k.
Yeah.
And it's owned in the SIP. And from my experience, I'm pretty sure there's some tax relief for commercial properties.
Oh, absolutely. So let's say that individual buys that property through their pension scheme and decides 5 years later that they want to sell. Let's say the property doubles to 600,000. There's a gain there of 300,000. So if they went to sell that and they owned it through themselves individually, they would pay something called capital gains tax. If the pension scheme owned it, their pension scheme, it's capital gains tax free.
100% free?
Yes, absolutely.
So the money goes back into the pension?
Back into the pension scheme, yes. And since 2015, the rules changed. George Osborne more or less turned the pension rules upside down. And so now you can actually leave, even with property within the SIP, you can leave that to your spouse, partner, to your children's children.
I was going to touch on that. So
Yeah,
let me ask that question. So I'm a 25-year-old young man, although I'm not, and I've got a pension, and I get to 45. All right, I haven't used any of the pension.
Yeah.
And I pop my clogs in a car crash. What happens to that money that I've been saving in my pension?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the rules changed in 2015. So there are still a lot of clients, a lot of people out there who've still got pension schemes that started before 2015. Not all of them, but most of them still have contracts whereby the pension provider would actually automatically pay the whole fund out to the widow or the widower, and so it will be paid out in tax-free. So one of the things to be careful about really there is once that fund is paid out, it adds to the surviving partner's estate, and then is could be subject to inheritance tax depending on the size of the estate. However, if they use the new scheme, which has something called flexi access option, and what is also known as the family pension tree, this can be passed on within the pension wrapper to the surviving partner. And if the surviving partner then subsequently dies a few years later, it can then be passed on to the children. So again, that's inheritance tax free as opposed to previous contracts to 2015.
Yeah, so anyone who took out a pension before 2015, they could have this clause in the contract. And I'm guessing if they came to you with their pensions, you could obviously transfer it into the correct facility.
So the first thing we would do, Sammy, we would actually mention to the client that we need to do our due diligence because they may already have that benefit there. So we'd actually then write to their pension providers with their authority and ask all the technical questions that we need to ask, making sure that the advice we are going to go back to the client with is going to be sound and safe.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. There could be a lot of people out there that are at risk of basically their spouses and loved ones paying tax because they haven't got the pension in the right place.
Absolutely, yes. So one of the things that we come across quite a lot is where people have changed jobs. Many years ago, it was commonplace to know somebody had been at one employer for 20, 30, 40 years. Nowadays, in recent sort of say 20, 25, 30 years, you'd actually get people who have changed job every 4, 5, 10 years, and they've got pension schemes which are deferred or just sitting somewhere. We'd actually do that audit check for them.
So that's a good question I'm about to ask you now. So say if you're retiring, you're 67 years old, I come into your office, and I have no idea how many pensions I've got. Is there like a UK-wide network showing you what every pension one person can have?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, another good question, and this is something that we get quite regularly. So HMRC have a pension tracing service that you can actually go on to and then search with using your national insurance number, your personal details to find out and ascertain and any pension schemes that you've got from the past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of customers out there you've got where they've just forgotten about certain pensions.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yes.
There's some smiley faces every now and again.
Yes. There's also something called the Unclaimed Asset Register in the UK, which is bursting at the seams at £15 billion. So that's something whereby people, relatives and personal representatives don't know that the individual who's just died, what they've got. So one of the things that we actually do is to actually help clients to actually say, let's consolidate if it's the right decision. After our head office have done the analysis,
a bit of housekeeping on your pensions.
Absolutely, yes. Only if it's the right thing to do.
And this unclaimed asset register, who's in charge of this?
Well, it's held by the government.
Really?
Yeah.
And they can't use the money though.
No.
Is there a time limit you can claim the money on?
I don't think so, but it is. There's lots of people have left shares that.
Big chunk, isn't it? 15 billion.
Yeah, people have shares, people have left property, and nobody knows who owns it.
Wow.
So, because it's all...
That's an interesting part of money which could be used to save this government, or sort the country out, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we want to do and what we want to achieve at Affinity is that when a client comes in, they actually are going away with more ideas, more thoughts in their minds and clear, transparent advice which actually helps them to decide what they want to do. And we also do. I designed some many years ago a document called "What I Own and Where It Is Kept." So they can use that, and it will actually go through all the assets they have, bank accounts, who a personal representative should contact. So in the event of death.
Yeah, whenever my dad goes on holiday, he's got that sort of document. He says, "Here it is. If I don't come back, this is everything I have, and you can just deal with it, Sammy."
Yeah, well, that's
a lot of dads do that with their sons, I guess.
No, that's a unique from to hear that. It's very unusual. Somebody actually does that. But we actually every time we have an annual review with one of our clients, we actually go back. We ask the questions that sometimes people don't like to be asked. Have you now done your will? Have you done your lasting power of attorney? Have you actually done this? So sometimes clients don't like to be reminded, but this is such a fundamental, important part of their planning, their estate. So it's very difficult to know exactly what somebody has.
Over the years of talking to financial advisors and other experienced property professionals, the one thing that's always resonated from what I've learned is essentially one of the best ways to create financial wealth has always been bricks and mortar property. What do you think about that statement?
So yeah, you know, I understand that sometimes clients want to look at other assets. They want to spread the risk, and property over the years has been a very good way of actually increasing your income. It has its pitfalls. You know, I strongly recommend that if somebody's going into property, that they look at all the advantages, but also the pitfalls, because going into property is essentially you're taking care of your own sort of good fortune and growth. But they should really come along and speak to somebody like yourself, because the finance part of it is not that difficult. That, you know, we'll get somebody in who's a mortgage advisor who we've dealt with for 30 years, or we'll use the open work partnership services. But it's then when there's void periods, what a client should expect. What you know. So when I used to do mortgages, I used to say to clients, if you have 70% occupancy over a 10-year period, you're doing well. I don't know if you share that, but
it depends if it's resi or commercial. I think residential now would be higher, personally.
Yeah, okay.
Commercial potentially lower. I work with quite a few commercial property owners, and they work on that sort of number, 70%. But resi, around in the Harborne area, you're wanting like 90% or a little bit above occupancy. Right. A lot of our properties have very few voids in the year.
Yeah.
A week.
Yeah. There's a national housing shortage, and you know, we've got people staying in hotels or move from one hotel to another. So it's a crisis, and you know, and there needs to be more housing up for rental, so that people can actually rent and find a nice place to live.
My experience at the moment, landlords are selling because they're struggling with the tax. They're making no money. They're not long-term landlords. They just thought they'd dabble in buying one or two, and they make nothing. They lose money each month. Their long-term plan doesn't suit what's happening right now. They're just paying tax and making nothing, and they're selling up. And that means there's less rental properties on the market. Therefore, the demand is still there and the supply is low. Rents are really high at the moment, and that's one of the reasons. The Section 24, you've probably heard of Section 24, the tax changes that came in a number of years ago with landlords. That's really made landlords leave the market, and we're noticing it. We're listing number of houses at the moment for landlords selling them on their behalf. That would currently be renting for years for them, because they literally, it doesn't make sense in the short term, but if they look 10 years in the future, that asset which is worth 175 grand now, naturally will be worth more in 10 years. But they can't suffer the losses they're losing each month.
And that's that exactly. If I personally think, if you're in the property game, if you're going to be a full-time landlord, that's the way to go forward. If you're just playing at it, by buying one or two properties, it may not be the right decision. So it might be, because but generally I would say, you know, if somebody's got a career, a business or a profession which property is going to take them away from their main income, their sort of I call it the engine, if it's going to take them away from that, they're obviously losing from their something that they're really good at to actually go and apply themselves to something that they're not so good at. So it could be a real, you know, pressure on their income and time.
Of course. You know, if they're making no money and they have to put a new boiler in the property, for example, a 2-3 grand expense, they're really going to feel that.
Absolutely, yes.
You've got to have the capacity for long-term investment now. and you need to have a buffer for maintenance, because maintenance can be costly. Like the cost of a boiler is £3,000. You know, windows and doors, rewiring is quite expensive now. So you've got to make sure you've got the capacity to pay for that if these things occur.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's certain regulation and standards that every landlord has to keep up to, their property up to a certain standard.
It's only getting stricter as well, so
yeah.
it's going to be even more expensive to become a landlord or be a landlord. And over the next few years, there's going to be big changes in rental properties. They've got the Rent Reform Act coming out, where it's going to change evictions. Right. It's going to scare landlords loads. If they think they can't evict the tenants, they're just going to stop being landlords.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's people who want to rent. So somewhere there's got to be a supply of housing. In central Birmingham right now, you're seeing lots of build-to-rent developments where a pension fund comes in, builds a site on behalf of someone. They fund it. I mean, there's 400 apartments, not sold, all rented, high rents, high standards though, good properties. And that's the model for central Birmingham. But the suburbs, I'm not sure where it's going to go.
No, and it's challenging because not everybody wants to live in the city. So you know, people want have a garden, and rightly so. And I would also recommend that they, particularly if a client comes in to me and says, I want to do some property investment, I'd probably send them to somebody like yourself. But I also, in addition with that, say, look, if you've got your own business, you've got your own career, profession, then let somebody else manage your property, because you don't get involved on the day-to-day sort of aspects of being landlord and management. I was just thinking,
when you said that, all they got to do is spend an afternoon in their office hearing the stuff we're dealing with.
Yeah.
The landlord is not going to want to deal with that when they're at work trying to work their engine, as you call it. I mean, have to deal with a tenant who's moaning about a lock or a tap or a boiler or a radiator. They don't want to deal with that. And then sometimes emotions come in, and then you've got to deal with the emotional side of being a landlord.
Yeah.
And you love the property you're owning. You have to separate the emotion from the finance and just let a professional like ourselves look after the property. Because if I was to do anything in business, I always employ professionals to do it for me. I don't try and cut corners to do it myself, because it will. If you do it wrong, it just costs you twice.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you know, what the other pressure that's been built up over the last sort of 2 years is the interest rates have increased fourfold, and there's pressure on that side of things as well. So really, you've got to go into something like property with your eyes open, and really look at, you know, what's it going to be like if you have that property empty for say 3 months of the year. I know you're saying it's 90%, which is great, but also this could also lead to the whole thing really imploding in terms of, you know, clients panicking and then selling for a loss.
Obviously, you've touched on property management, you've touched on how agents can help out, how professionals help out in every case. I wanted to mention and discuss our history, our past, because the crazy thing is, how's my old schoolmate?
Jasdev, yes, he's doing well. If a lot of people probably don't know, but you were a classmate. Yes, King Edward's 5 Ways.
Yeah.
Yes, he's doing well. He's in London, yes, he's keeping quite busy.
Staying away from you?
Staying away from me, yes, of course, yes. Who wants their dads around? But yes, it's interesting that you've become you know, a very good agent. People trust your name and trust yourself, and that's good really, because your message is going further and further out of Harborne, which is great, and it's good to see you do so well, and you're employing quite a few people. So you're self-Harborne based like me.
Yeah.
So we probably bump into each other quite a lot, and so it's good. And I think Harborne it used to be called a village, and you know, and I think we should bring back that village feel, where people can just knock on our door and just say, I need some advice, I need some help. So So that I think that's probably. I hope this this blog actually achieves that, whereby people get to know us. And we've got Harborne community as well.
Yeah, you probably don't know, but I am one of the moderators of that page. 31,500 members now in that.
Oh wow, gosh.
I took over in 2020. It was 16,000. It's nearly doubled.
Right.
In 4 years, so we've done really well. It's grown really well and got rid of the riffraff. But we're going to put this video on the Harborne community page, and hopefully some of the viewers, it might trigger some, especially the younger viewers, really.
Yeah.
It might trigger in the head. What does it cost for your services?
I always say this, that the first meeting we have to see whether we can help an individual or a couple, or the first meeting is always our cost. No cost to the individual or person who wants to come in, or persons. So following that, we will always look at if we can help. So the first meetings, as I say, is always our investment. Obviously, we do have to, if there's work that the client wants us to do, we agree terms, and once we agree terms, and we just move forward with
it's a mutually beneficial relationship at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
They make their money, you make your business, everyone wins.
Win-win, yes, absolutely. The whole idea is that you want the people you're seeing who become clients, and a lot of my clients become friends, and it's for them to always at any time pick up the phone and say, Darshan, I need to discuss this with you. It may not even have any direct link to what we've done, but I will get clients call up and say, what do you think of this scenario? And I'm always happy to say, I'm not advising you in an official capacity, but this is what I think as a local businessman.
I get that a lot. I get a lot of people who know me calling me up, asking for advice about investments, properties, what to do if the tenant's not paying. We get a lot of these, and I'm always willing to talk, because at the end of the day, everyone is a future customer, and if you say no at some point, they just won't use you. But if you just give a little bit once or twice, they will come back to you naturally. Maybe not today, maybe in 5 years, but it comes back, and you can't shut business off.
No.
And I've learned that in the last 6-7 years. Before, I was probably a little bit arrogant, but I started doing a lot more networking and realised the value of you as a person, and your attitude is so important. And I think now I've learned how to conduct myself, especially in the Harborne community as well. So everyone knows everyone. You go to the Plough, you go to a restaurant, you walk into 5, 6, 7 people you know, a lot of business owners, having a cup of coffee or a tea or a beer, and everyone, it's a great power team there, really. So if you mess things up with one of them, or your name will get spread.
Yeah, no. As we were nestled with in Harborne with lots of nice pubs and restaurants, and you always are bumping into somebody at some point. And like I said, the community feel and the village feel should be very open and very honest, and so that people can just rock up to your door or give you a call, say, can I pop in for a few minutes or half an hour? So
basically give you a call and pop up. And your office is currently next to the Plough and opposite the Green Man in the buildings with the black gates or black fence in front of it.
It was expertly chosen, by the way, because the Green Man's right in front of us, and the Plough's about 3 doors away. So, both establishments are good.
Both good, yeah.
So, and then we've got further down, we've got lots of nice restaurants. My favourite coffee shop, which is, we won't say because I do frequent a few of them. So, but yes, so it's good. We've got new businesses setting up, and I think we should just support everyone within on the high street.
Yeah, just touching on that, we have just sent an email out to most businesses in Harborne asking them if they want to come on the podcast or if they want a free marketing video for them to promote their business and Harborne High Street, because I think we need to go back to the village feel. Harborne's a very transient area because of the QE hospital and the university. A lot of comings and goings, a lot.
Yeah.
So we've got to bring back the village feel. But a lot of my friends live locally, and I've stayed locally. You're local. there's a lot of good people who are still around who
Yeah.
love the village style.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm always, if I'm not knee deep in nappies with my kids, you know, I'm trying to use one of the local businesses for something, or water or beer or food or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to always reuse
Yeah.
the local community.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the more that local businesses get together, the better. And I think what you know, we bump into each other in pubs, even in the city here, and then we've got you know, that type of connection which goes back a long way. So yeah, it's good.
Well, lovely to chat with you today, by the way. I'm glad you came on today. It's been a nice,
pleasure.
A nice little podcast. And look, if you are trying to find Darsh, we explained where he is. He's on the high street. He does a great job. He's got a lot of happy customers and clients. And you know, I hope you've enjoyed being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to take some time out, because life is so short, and if you actually just stay in your office and not go out at all and meet people, then sometimes the purpose is lost. You know, you need to enjoy what you're doing, and I've enjoyed coming here.
I like that.
I've had a nice cup of coffee. So
Wink, wink.
yes.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Enjoyed it. Take care.